number 7 and number 8, there is 2 parts to this question, and some of you lost points because you did only one part. You were supposed to multiply these, and your answer should have been in simplest form. And then there was a second question. Does the first factor increase or decrease? So you should have had an answer, and then you should have written the word increase or decrease. When I look at number 7, I have 1/8 times 4/7. A couple of ways you could do this. The 4 and the 8 have something in common, so you could simplify there. Let's just multiply straight across and see what we get. 1 times 4 is 4. 8 times 7 is 56. These are both even numbers, so you could divide by 2. You can actually divide both of these by 4, but we need to simplify this fraction. 456 is not the answer in simplest form. So if you had have done it the other way, let's start over with 1/8 times 4/7. If you had have noticed, these have something in common. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 7 is 14. That is in simplest terms. If you divided this top one here, if you divided 4 by 4, you would get 1. If you divided 56 by 4, you would get 14. 1/14 is the answer. And now we need to decide, did it increase or decrease? Well, we've talked about this a lot. If the second factor right here is less than 1, and you know that 4/7 is less than 1 because it's a proper fraction. All proper fractions are less than 1. If the second factor is less than 1, then you know your answer decreased what you started with. So 1/8 times 4/7 equals 1/14, and 1/14 is smaller than 1/8. And the reason why we know that is because 4/7 is less than 1. So we would have written the word decrease. So there was 2 parts of the answer, 1/14 and decrease. Same thing for number 8. If we're solving number 8, we have 3/5 times 2, and I can write that as 2 over 1. I already know that this is going to increase. I don't even have to multiply it. When my second factor, the 2, if your second factor is greater than 1, then whatever your answer is going to be more than what you started with. So I already know it's going to increase just by looking at the second factor. Let's multiply it. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 1 is 5. I have an improper fraction. 6 in the numerator is larger than 5 in the denominator. So I need to change that to a mixed number. That's how I simplify an improper fraction. I change it to a mixed number. 5 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. I subtract and get 1. I have 1 and 1/5. 1 and 1/5. That is the answer. So I have both of my answers now, 1 and 1/5 and increase. You needed both of those. You have to read and follow directions. A lot of people miss points because they didn't do both parts. Number 9 was almost identical to these two. Okay? Determine whether 4/9 times 3/8 will be less than or greater than 4/9. You can figure that out right now. The second factor, 3/8, is a proper fraction, which means it is less than 1, which means your answer is going to be less than 4/9, less than what you started with. So we already know part of this answer is less. Okay? The second part of the answer is to solve the equation. Many of you wrote less, but you didn't solve the equation. So let's solve the equation. Number 9. 4/9 times 3/8. You can simplify right here if you wanted to. 4 and 8 have something in common. But we could also multiply across. 4 times 3 is 12. 9 times 8 is 72. They're both even numbers. You could divide by 2, but it's kind of hard to do that with 72 because we don't know off the top of our head what that might be. So the other way is to simplify first. 4 and 8 have something in common. They have a 4 in common. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now 1 times 3 is 3. 9 times 2 is 18. But I'm not finished because 3 and 18 have something in common. I can divide both of them by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Same thing here. If I divided, both of these can be divided by 12, but you might not know that unless you play around with the numbers. But 12 divided by 12 is 1. 72 divided by 12 is 3. Oh, no, not 3. 6. The answer is 1/6. So we know that we know that 1/6 is less than what we started with because 3/8 is less than 1. Alright. Number 10. Number 10 says there are 24 muffins in a bakery. Out of those, 3/8 are blueberry muffins. How many muffins are blueberry muffins? When you are looking for a total, or not a total, but if you see this word of, 3/8 of 24, that's a clue that you're going to be multiplying. Before we even took the quiz, I told you everything that we're going to be doing is multiplying. So a lot of people divided these, and we need to know when we're supposed to multiply and when we're supposed to divide. So this was 24, and we needed 3/8 of 24. When we have something like that, 3/8 of 24, we know we're going to multiply. So we have 24 times 3/8, which is the same as 24 over 1 times 3/8. If we multiply straight across, we're going to get a pretty big number. 24 times 3 is, let's see, 20, 40, 60. 4 times 3 is 12, so altogether that would be 72 over 8. And I know that this is the same thing as 72 divided by 8, which is equal to 9. You could have also done 24 over 1 times 3 over 8, and you could have simplified because 24 and 8 share something in common. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 24 divided by 8 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1, which is equal to 9. So there were 9 blueberry muffins. Number 11. Oranges cost 25 cents each. How much will 7 oranges cost? You could have literally added 25 cents 7 times, but that would have taken you a long time. We should have seen this as 25 cents, or 0.25 times 7. You could have looked at this, you know 25 cents times 4 is $1. So 25 cents times 8 would be $2. So you know your answer can't be more than $2 because we don't even have 8 oranges. So just things to think about before you start. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 2 is 14. 15, 16, 17. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 2 decimal places here. No decimal places here. So we have 2 decimal places, so we move it to 1, 2. The answer is $1.75. You could have counted that on your fingers. if you wanted to figure that out. Number 12 says a rectangular piece of gift wrap is 5.5 inches by 2.1 inches. What is the area of the gift wrap? And it gave you the clue right here. Area equals length times width. And you know that. You've used that before in 4th grade and 5th grade. If you need a picture, you've got a rectangle. The length is the longest side, so 5.5 inches from here to here. 2.1 inches from here to here. And we are following this formula. Area equals length times width. So something equals length times width. We know the length, we know the width. All we have to do is multiply. So we have 5.5 times 2.1. 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 5 is 5, placeholder 0, 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Add 5, 5, 1, and 1, 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, so let's move them, 1, 2, and 11.55 is our answer. Alright, that is the mid-chapter quiz review for Chapter 2.